guys, I'm your host, Abby Smiley. Welcome to Pep Talk. Hi, you guys. Welcome to Pep Talk. I am so happy to be back this week. We are going to be discussing how to stop worrying, part 6. I can't believe we are 6 parts in right now. I hope that this series is really helping you negate your worries and work through some problems, just like this book did for me. Today, for part 6, we will be discussing the negative power and energy that very small worries and irritants can have. But first, I want to tell you guys something so exciting, because months ago, when I was talking about Christmas time and everything, I mentioned on here that I got an oil painting class from my husband for my Christmas present, and I have been so thrilled ever since. So this month, I have been taking these oil painting classes, and it is the most, hard but exciting and rewarding thing. Oh my word, it's kind of made learning fun again for me, and I was not somebody who super loved that during school, especially college. I actually dropped out. I didn't have too much longer to go, but it wasn't working for me, and it feels really fun to want to take an art class again. I was an art major, and this is so much fun and completely out of my comfort zone. Oil painting is brand new to me, and anyway, I am loving it. Thank you to Art House in Salt Lake City. I highly recommend them. And I will have to share some of maybe something that I have learned or worked on our Instagram, but I'm not sure how confident I am in sharing that yet. Now, before we get into the episode, here is a word from one of our sponsors. We are all out here trying to change our lives for the better, and sometimes that can be extremely overwhelming. But what helps us come down from this overwhelm is a good, solid night's sleep. Sometimes for me, that is hard to come by all by myself. Enter Happiest Med. They are a local small business with a range of CBD products to help your mind and body. And lately, I've been putting their natural CBD sleep drops under my tongue right before getting in bed. And the restful sleep that I easily fall into blows my mind. I can relax because it's all natural, locally sourced right here in Utah, and there's just no fuss. Simple packaging helps me know that this is a medical aid, and there's nothing fishy or anything to feel uncomfortable about. Visit their website, happiestmed.com, for more information and to grab your own sleep CBD oil. We will mention them in our show notes so you can head right to their website, but that is HEPIUSMED.com. And use code PEPTALK for 10% off your purchase at checkout. Sweet dreams to us both. And back to the show. Okay, so what we are discussing today are the tiny little infractions and worries that come into our lives and actually how much power they have. I think we've all heard the phrase, don't sweat the small stuff, and that can definitely be easier said than done. But this whole section is such a wonderful and powerful statement as to why it's so important to not sweat the small stuff. Especially true in marriages and relationships, we often let the little things drive us to the edge of insanity, and these tiny molecular troubles end up being the root of half the troubles in the world. In fact, the majority of divorces boil down to minor infractions: an insulting remark, a cruel word when you're already in a bad mood, not feeling like your partner says thank you or appreciates you enough, even socks left on the floor or cabinet doors left open. Speaking of that, there is a wonderful interview of Dax Shepard talking about his marriage to Kristen Bell, and I love this couple. And he mentions how she has this habit of leaving cabinet doors open when she's in the kitchen. She'll grab something, walk away, and leave the door open. This drove him so mad because he kept mentioning it to her and reminding her, and thought it was just such a simple thing to do. Just close the cabinet door when you're done. To Kristen, for some reason, this was just not an easy thing her mind noticed, and she also didn't think of it as a big deal. So finally, Dax shares that he hit a point of realizing this tiny action could destroy their relationship. And honestly, it already had up to a point, because it wasn't working out the way he had hoped it would, and Kristen wasn't trying to upset him or anything. It just kept happening. So he came to the conclusion that he was going to pick his marriage over his anger. He just closed the cabinets behind her instead and chose to let it roll off his back. I think we all do this more than we realize in our relationships with everyone around us. The people we spend so much of our time with can drive us absolutely crazy by the small things they do or habits that they can't break. But if we can alter our expectations of them, we will completely ease our own burdens and see them as full and imperfect beings, which we all are. I don't even want to try to imagine all of the things that I do that drive those around me crazy. And I'm thankful that for the most part, I don't know many of them, because the people around me are so kind and loving and chill that they have chosen to pick me instead of their annoyance with me. One thing that I know I do is leave dishes in the bathroom. The most random thing that, once again, you would think is so simple to not do, but I find I don't even notice that I've left them there until the end of the day. So I typically eat breakfast in the bathroom as I get ready for the day, while my daughter watches cartoons in the other room, so that I don't have to hear the same show or song over and over again. And then the rest of the day moves forward, and I leave a trail of breakfast dishes in my wake. My sweet husband, Zach, gets home in the evening and uses our bathroom and ignores the breakfast leftovers that were once again left there. And I truly don't even notice that they're there until I'm cleaning up before I get into bed. Bless his soul for that. And just like I've accepted that I will always be the one to replace the toilet paper roll in every single bathroom, even if the new toilet paper roll is sitting on the counter inches from where it truly belongs. Now, this not only goes for our relationships with other people, but our relationship with ourselves. We need to be able to be emotionally mature enough to deal with ourselves kindly. We will all make mistakes. We will have random things that we just can't seem to get to stick. We can't figure out, and that we're just not naturally capable of doing. Now, I am a firm believer in being able to change those things about ourselves if we truly desire to, but that's not the point. The point is that we need to be willing to let our own imperfections roll off our backs. We have all seen some relationship, whether it be in person or in a movie, where one person is constantly berating the other for their imperfections, publicly humiliating them for always making mistakes, or never learning to sit up straight, or not pronouncing something correctly. These characters, whether in real life or fiction, always tend to make us side with the underdog. We feel irritated and angry with the person who just can't chill out and move forward without berating this flawed being in front of them. And it's probably because we all have empathy and notice a small bit of ourselves in them. What a horrible thought to realize that we may very well be both the bully and the victim in our own situation. Dale Carnegie helps to illustrate this point by sharing an incredible story of a famous gigantic tree on Long's Peak in Colorado. This tree was known to have stood for about 400 years. It was there when Columbus landed and when pilgrims settled Plymouth Rock. During the course of its life, the tree was struck by lightning 14 times, and a countless number of Colorado avalanches and storms of 4 entire centuries thundered past it. This tree withstood them all. In the end of its life, however, an army of beetles attacked the tree and leveled it to the ground. The beetles ate their way through the bark and destroyed the inner strength by their tiny but incessant attacks. This gigantic, heroic tree hadn't withered with age or been blown to bits by lightning strikes or been trampled by thunderous avalanches. It was destroyed by beetles so small that a person could crush them in their fingers. We often face the major disasters of life bravely, and then let the trifles, the pains in the neck, get us down. This is a quote from Dale Carnegie, and I just love that. It's so true. We feel like we can handle these big things that come our way, even if we don't actually think we can handle them. But the tiny little things, those are the ones that we let bother us and derail our lives. I myself am guilty of this, as I think we all are, but if we will allow ourselves to be aware of the larger picture, to recognize our own greatness, and to forgive our small trespasses, an innumerable amount of worries will simply leave our minds. Now, I want to share one last story that Mr. Carnegie includes in this chapter of his book, because when I read it, I genuinely laughed out loud for how much it applied to me. And if you've been listening to our podcast, you will laugh with me too. He narrates a journey he took through Teton National Park in Wyoming, and that a highway superintendent named Mr. Seyfried was leading a group of friends with Mr. Carnegie to the John D. Rockefeller estate inside the park. The car that Mr. Carnegie was riding in had gotten lost and ended up at the gate to the estate an hour after the rest of the tour had arrived. Mr. Seyfried, the highwayman and leader of the group, was the only one with a key to the gate, and he had stood waiting in the hot, mosquito-infested woods for an hour until the last vehicle arrived. The mosquitoes were enough to drive a saint insane, but they couldn't bother Mr. Seyfried. Instead, he had cut a limb off an aspen tree and made a whistle out of it while he waited for the last car. When they arrived, he wasn't cursing the heat or the bugs. He was playing his whistle. This was a man who knew how to put trifles in their place. So, as we have learned now, to break the worry habit before it breaks you, don't allow yourself to be upset about small things we should forget. Life is too short to let beetles get you down. And that is your pep talk. Okay, you guys, here is your personal pep talk for today. We had somebody write this in, and I've honestly been putting this question off for a little while because I didn't feel like I knew how to give the right answer for it. And I think that's okay. That is why I'm here. I'm not here to be the ultra amazing therapist professional who knows how to answer every question. I'm just here to give you Abby's point of view. So, our listener wrote in, I want to be more involved in civil activism, but I don't know where to start. So, first of all, I think the reason I put this off so long is because I completely understand. And I am definitely not the civil activism expert, but I want to just remind you that all of us are brand new, fresh human beings. It doesn't matter how long you've been on this earth or how many things you've gone through. We're all still learning as we go. So what I would first of all say is that wanting to be more involved is an incredible first step. Next up, you need to take the idea of perfection out of your mind and just start. A simple Google search will help. There are countless resources on social media that will be able to send you to the right websites and organizations where your help and knowledge can be needed. They'll be able to give you so many resources for whatever you want to be more active about. I also think being able to work hard and stand up for what you think is right, what you believe in, what you think people need help with, is so wonderful. You just need to take the perfection out of it. I think we are all afraid that we are imperfect beings trying to be helpful and kind. If you go and try to be helpful and kind, you might get knocked down a couple of times. You might be told that you know nothing, and that's okay. That's what we're here for, is to keep learning. So I would just advise you to step out and ask and search and try. Don't demand perfection from yourself. Not knowing where to start, my dad has a very annoying but true answer for this question whenever I have gone to him with a question like this. He says, Google it. So it's not the most helpful, but I want you to just remember to take some pressure off of yourself. Start Googling, start working, and you will get better and better. You don't have to be perfect, but every little bit of trying and helping counts. I hope that will help you today, and I hope it helps me too. This was a really hard question for me to answer, and I think that's because it's okay that we're all imperfect and we're all learning. trying to have humankind's best interest at heart is really what matters, and do everything with love. I hope that you will write in more personal pep talk questions, and hey, the more deep and scary, the more I will try to be better at answering these. But they also don't have to be deep. You can ask us something hilarious or ask for a very surface level pep talk as well. We've got your back. Thank you for listening, and we hope you will rate, review, and subscribe. Message us on Instagram at Pep Talk Podcast, and we love you guys. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.